නමෝ තස්ස භගවතෝ අරහතෝ සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස නමෝ තස්ස භගවතෝ අරහතෝ සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස නමෝ තස්ස භගවතෝ අරහතෝ සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස. So as you all know, we were discussing Yavakalapi Sutta, which is the last sutta of Samyutta Nikaya Salayatana Samyutta. And there actually Buddha first gave two similes, one related to the smashing of the barley seeds using a flail, and actually not just one flail, using 7 flails. So 7 strong people come and smash or strike the sheaf of barley. So using which actually Buddha tells us when we are interacting with the outside world, various sights through the eyes, sounds through the ears, various smells through the nose, various tastes through the tongue, various tangibles, tactile sensations using the body, and then various thoughts through the mind. So the mind ultimately can get into a fairly troubled or burdened state. It can become agitated, it can become stressed, tortured. And even by the 7th person, Buddha indicates that the one may not only experience the present moment, this sensual interaction, but even he himself can think further about the future, about the past. So as a result of that, another additional burden comes to the mind. And then Buddha went to the next simile, that is where he discussed about the war between Sura and the Asura, the Devas and the Asuras. So there, interestingly, the Devas won the battle and they captured the king of the Asuras, Vepachitti, and they bound him through the 5 places. And then he was taken to the assembly hall called Sudhamma. Interesting thing is, so his bondage is not through any kind of shackles, any chains or ropes, etc. Rather, it's a mind-made shackle. If the Vepachitti, the king of the Asura, thinks, so these Devas are righteous and the Asuras are unrighteous, I like to stay with the Devas, then his bondage become released and he will be able to stay with the Deva realm, with the Devas. But he being opposite, he is opposed to the Devas, he mostly think that Devas are unrighteous, Asuras are righteous, so I want to go back to the Asura realm after freeing from the Devas. So if he thinks like that, then Buddha say, his bondage become further tightened, he become further captured. So therefore Buddha emphasized, so this bondage of the King Vepachitti is so subtle, it is entirely dependent on how he thinks. And then he mentioned the bondage of the Mara, he was even subtler than the Vepachitti's bondage. Manyamano bhikkave baddho marasa amanyamano mutto pavimato. Then he mentioned, so whenever one conceives, so he become bound to the Mara, and if one is not conceiving, then he is free from the Mara. Then he goes on to 5 kinds of mechanisms, 5 methods, 5 possibilities one can go through this sort of bondage, how one can become captured by the Mara. So the first one is called conceiving, Manyana, where one imagines that there is a person here, there is a self here, there is an individual here, there is an object here. So basically that very imagination, that conceiving, can cause him to think in many different ways. So as an example, Buddha has given 10 such propositions. So whenever he thinks like that, he becomes captured by the Mara. And then the second one is called Injana, what we call agitation, which actually happens because of the appealing coming from the sense impingement, which is actually craving based. So whenever we are exposed to various sights, sounds, smells, tastes, tangibles, and the thoughts, So there are some likable ones, dislikable ones. So as a result of that, again and again, mind get agitated because the tanha, the craving, is again and again bound to that direction, inclined towards that direction. So there is a constant inclination going on to various sight, sounds, smells, tastes, tangibles. So likewise, so there is an agitation happens in the mind. So there is a second scenario which Buddha mentioned how the thinking can happen, agitation can happen, mental unrest can happen, and so this is the second one. Then he went on to discuss about the pandita, kind of a palpitation. So we are so dependent on various things. Either we depend on certain people, either we depend on certain objects, certain situations. So we are attached to them, we are attached to those conditions. But unfortunately, none of them are permanent. None of them can guarantee their continuous existence. None of them can guarantee their continuous providing of that happiness. They can't guarantee the current state. So they are constantly changing. But unfortunately, when we are holding them, when we are depending on their current condition, current state, we get agitated because they constantly change. They are subject to change. So whatever we depend on are subject to change. So as a result of that, we get agitated. We are expecting certain kind of a behavior. We are expecting certain kind of a status. But unfortunately, they themselves have no such agreement with us, or neither they have the capacity to stay as it is. They constantly become otherwise. So as a result of that, we being dependent on that, we also get agitated. That's the third scenario that Buddha is explaining, what we call as the pandita. And now we can get on to the fourth one, which is a quite a familiar one, what we call the papanchita. What we call as the proliferation. Papanchita. So the term papanchita, the proliferation, is basically has a meaning that the mind has some sort of a tendency to spread out, to expand, to become manifold. So whenever certain thought happen to the mind, and the tendency in the mind is to make it kind of manifold, to distribute it, to expand it, to spread it out. So this is the meaning of the nature of the papancha, where mind naturally has such a tendency, such a temptation. It can't simply keep it as it is. So it has the tendency to spread it out, to make it kind of a multitude way, to expand it, to exaggerate it. So this is a situation. This is a kind of a dynamic behavior of the mind. So the situation is very well explained in the Honeyball Sutta, what we call as the Madhupindika Sutta. And when Buddha gave a very short description, the monks were unable to understand it, and then they went to the Arahant Mahakachana. So Venerable Kachana is the one given the full explanation. So how this papancha, how this proliferation, conceptual proliferation happens in the mind. So there are three stages we can recognize as per his explanation. The first stage is where whenever a person goes through any kind of sensual interaction, say whenever I interact with certain sight, what happens is then there is the kind of a knowledge, kind of a cognition happens in the eye. Okay, there is some sort of a sight, there is some sort of a color, very primitive kind of a recognition. Haven't gone to the details, simply a very primitive recognition is there, and what we call as the chakku viññāna. Chakkunchauso paticca rupecha uppajjati chakku viññāna. So whenever I interact with certain sight, then this chakku viññāna, the eye consciousness happen, the cognition at the eye happen. And then Tinna Sangati Passo. This process repeatedly happens. Again and again it happens very rapidly. So then we consider this as three scenarios. And in one sense, we are forgetting that Chakku Vijnana, the eye consciousness, is fully dependent factor. It depends on the eye, it depends on the sight. So it's a kind of a product. But when it happens again and again, all three appear like available to us. And as a result of that, the concept called passa, the contact happens. Tinna Sangati Passu. All three together we consider as the contact. So as a result of this contact, then the feeling happens. Passa Paccha Vedana. So till that, the process is very causally happening. So these are some causal reaction. So eye, sight, eye consciousness, then the contact of the eye, and then as a result of that, the feeling. So these are certainly happening to everyone. Till this moment, it's a causal activity. Parissampanna process, a dependently arisen process. And then we get into the second stage, where we as an individual get into the picture. So the whole process has happened in the eye of a particular, so I am talking using certain mundane terms like in a person. So in that person, now this person is now getting to the picture. He now want to recognize what he has experienced. So there is a feeling. Now he wants to recognize what is this feeling. Yang vedeti tang sanjanati. Yang sanjanati tang vitakketi. Now in order to further recognize it, he starts thinking. Some sort of a thinking now starts. He probably compare his experience with the previous or past experience, or he was expecting something and so he may be telling whether it is what he has expected. So likewise, many different ways he start thinking now. Yang vitakketi tam papancheti. Now it develops into many different directions. So that is where the papancha happens. Now, still things are happening very much under his control. Now, he as an individual, as a person, now he start thinking, and that thinking is now because of that tendency in the mind, that dynamic tendency in the mind, which is to proliferate, to diversify. So he starts thinking in many different directions. Now, the third stage is the interesting one. At one given moment, he loses his control. Yam papancheti tato nidanam purisam papanya sanya sankha samudacharanti atitanagata pachuppannesu chakkuvinyayesu rupesu. Now here, Venerable Kachana explained, at certain stage, he loses his control. Now, that very papancha, that conceptual proliferation happening in the mind becomes most dominant feature, dominant behavior. So this person become a victim of that process. So person is unable to control it now. He loses his grip. He loses his control. Now the papancha, that proliferation is getting the upper hand. So that proliferation is now happening continuously in many different directions, and either to the past, to the future, and what related to what he has seen. So his own imaginations, his own judgments, his different cultural upbringing, all these are coming, joining, mixing, interrupting, many different ways. In a very ad hoc manner, this thinking can happen. Proliferation can happen. Now, this is the third stage where the person become a victim of that very process. That's why the term samudacharanti. Samudacharanti explains that the person becomes sort of overwhelmed by the ongoing thinking process. And interestingly, this is not the only outcome. So as a result of this overthinking, conceptual proliferation, this person may get into talk, get into think further, to imagine, and maybe to lie, even to gossip, even to get into some divisive speech and get into arguments, and he may take a rod, a gun or whatever, and then he start attacking the other person and get into various conflicts, battles, wars, etc. can happen. So therefore we can see, as per this explanation, so this proliferation is a source of huge unnecessary involvement, unnecessary trouble. Conceptual proliferation is one of the important source or a reason, a cause for many trouble. And on the other hand, if one is able to avoid this situation, that means as a result of the practice, if he is able to understand this behavior happening in his mind and calm down it, reduce it, silence the mind, then the repercussions become less and less. He may experience the opposite. While others are proliferating, while others are arguing, while others are complaining, this person can stay very quiet, very calm, very relaxed. So that's the opposite. So therefore, we can say the practice, either it may be samatha, either it may be vipassana. So the practice actually helps us to experience this non-proliferation state. Say, for example, if you are practicing anapanasati in terms of the samatha meditation, so as you are experiencing breath for, say, 20 breaths, 100 breaths, 20 breaths, 200 breaths continuously, so there are the mental calming down happen. Agitation become less and less. You become fairly calm, very relaxed, and thinking become less and less. So for too much thinking, breath meditation is one of the antidote. So if you are a character who is thinking too much, so you can practice anapanasati, mindfulness on breathing. So you can experience very relaxed mind, very calm mind, fairly quiet mind, because you are fairly absorbed to this breathing process. Breathing process has that capacity to calm down the whole body, calm down the whole mind. So breathing is a very soft, very gentle, very relaxed kind of a process. So as you are paying close attention to it, your mind also become very relaxed, very calm, very quiet. So it's a natural outcome of the breathing. So breathing ultimately can become even subtler, and there your behavior become even very soft, very gentle, and you might not feel the body. So the mind become very calm, very relaxed. So you can experience very relaxed experience, calm experience, quiet experience as a result of this breath meditation. So we can see that temporarily you can calm down the mind, reduce the thinking, avoid any conceptual proliferation, even such kind of a samatha meditation. On the other hand, anapanasati itself can be used in terms of vipassana, or you can get into any other vipassana technique, any other satipatthana method. Either it may be kayanupassana, vedananupassana, chittanupassana, dhammanupassana. As a result of some long-term vipassana practice, again and again you can understand that the behavior of the mind, how you are contributing to this thinking, how your own additions, your own judgments, your own imaginations are added to this process. Say, for example, if you are in the chittanupassana level, say you are able to recognize thoughts as merely thoughts. You are no more coupled in them. You are no more identifying with the thoughts. Rather, you are able to experience thoughts as merely thoughts. Very much like decentering has happened. You are no more coupled with the thinking. You are no more merged with the thinking. Rather, you have experience. You are maintaining kind of a distance, and you become a fairly distant observer, where thinking maybe happens, thoughts are there, but you are not identifying those thoughts as your thoughts. They are merely thoughts. And probably you can recognize your own tendencies available in the mind to interact with these thoughts, to judge these thoughts, to identify these thoughts, and to contribute to this thinking. So many other tendencies probably able to understand happening available in the mind. So slowly you can reduce that interaction. You don't need to participate. You don't need to add to this thinking. You don't need to interfere this thinking. As a result of that, so thinking become further and further weaker, and there may be an instance the gaps between thinking can happen, gaps between thoughts can happen. Probably you can even notice that, and that gap can even become longer and longer. And there may be instances there are no even any single thought, a fairly calm, fairly quiet, thoughtless state even possible. So this is not merely through samatha, but rather a fair amount of investigation is involved. So a fair amount of wisdom is involved, yoniso manasikara is involved. So this is a fairly practical process. You don't need to be always cross-legged to do this. Rather, you can even while working, while traveling, while doing any other task, you can watch the mind and minimize this sort of conceptual proliferation. So likewise, samatha vipassana, both meditative processes are fairly contributing towards the calming down of the mind. But not only that, in order to avoid conceptual proliferation, actually we have to concern about the behavioral aspects as well, certain moral aspects as well. Now, say for example, if you are completely careless about your behavior, so it can have a significant impact about your mental culture. So if you have done something wrong, so your mind start complaining. You become restless. There is some sort of agitation happening in the mind because your behavior is not conducive for the calm mind. Rather, again and again, mind become scattered, distracted because of the behavior. So it's very difficult to achieve any kind of freedom from conceptual proliferation. So the moral aspects, maintaining very good moral standard is very important aspect of this minimizing conceptual proliferation. On the other hand, the samadhi practice, the concentration side, the mindfulness practice, also another very important area. So as you develop mindfulness, you can be aware of various emotions, various urges in the mind, different behaviors, wrong habits, all those we can recognize available within ourselves and can reduce them. So the mindfulness practice is very another important area for us to develop in order to calm down the mind. And then, of course, the vipassana practice, the development of the wisdom, which can be said another very important side of this minimizing conceptual proliferation. Now, the interesting thing is, so if one is able to maintain a mind which is quiet, free from conceptual proliferation. Now, say for example, there are a group of other people and you are also there, and certain incident happen while the others are panicking, while the others are screaming and get troubled, arguing, all these things are there. So if you are able to maintain a fairly relaxed mind, unagitated mind, a quiet mind, which is not proliferating at all, then your inner tendencies, latent tendencies become weaker and weaker. So this is explained in this Madhupindika Sutta itself. Yato nidanam bhikkhu purisam papanja sanya sanka samudacharanti etta che natti abhinandi tabbang abhivadi tabbang ajjose tabbang. So for you there is no any sort of agitation, any sort of reiteration of that very process. There is no adherence to that ongoing whatever the incident. You are not part of that incident. You are not agitated from that incident. You are not welcoming that incident. Your mind is not disturbed by that incident, or you are not being delighted by that incident. Rather, the mind is fairly calm, relaxed, quiet. You are able to maintain that very relaxed nature of the mind. If so, if you are able to do that, esevanto raganusayana. So then Buddha mentioned, okay, this is the way to abandon raga anusaya, the latent tendency to lust. Esevanto patiganusayasa. Patiganusayana. This is the way to abandon the patiga, the ill will. Esevanto ditthanusayana. This is the way to abandon the ditti, various wrong views. Esevanto vichikichanusayana. This is the way to minimize various tendencies to say doubt. Esevanto mananusayana. This is the way to abandon various comparisons. Me, you, like that, various comparisons are there whenever we identify ourselves as certain individual. So if we are behaving like this, then that's the way to minimize this mana, the conceit. Esevanto bhavaraganusayana. Again and again we want to become someone, want to become something. So this sort of a tanha, the craving base, the bhava tanha related inclinations are there in the mind. So if you are behaving like this, then that too become less and less. Esevanto avijjanusayana. So this is the way to abandon the avijja, the ignorance. Esevanto dandadana, sattadana, kalaha, viggaha, vivada, tuang, pesunya, musavadana. So as I previously mentioned, if you are behaving like this, then you can abandon the clubs, you can abandon various weapons, you can avoid any conflicts, arguments, various kinds of divisive speech, false speech. Ettate papaka akusala dhamma aparisesa nirujjanti. So you are able to abandon various kinds of unwholesome activities. So you can see how important or how critical is to avoid conceptual proliferation. So conceptual proliferation is one of the very important aspects that we need to reduce through the practice. So if you are practicing meditation, satipatthana for a long time, and still if your mind is going on and on without your much of a control, and you are unable to stop that worrying, you are unable to stop that rumination, you are unable to stop that overthinking, obsessive type of thinking, that means we have to further think about our practice. There may be areas that you need to correct because the conceptual proliferation is not yet addressed. But if you are able to minimize thinking, it doesn't mean that we have to completely stop the thinking and keep the mind in a vacuum. That is also another extreme. That is not what we are talking here. Thinking is an important skill that we as humans all have, but it has to happen under our supervision in a way. So whenever necessary, you can think skillfully, but whenever not necessary, you should be able to stop thinking. So if that is what actually recommended in the what we call in the Vitakka Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya, whenever you need to think, whenever you find there is a purpose in thinking, okay, you can think. But you are not getting to the proliferation state. Now, as I mentioned in the 3 stages of the Madhupindika Sutta, so the first stage and the second stage is very much happens under your purview, under your control. The third stage is which is harmful. So you can stop the third stage at all, and then you can again come to the inner silence. And here there are various other suttas that Buddha and various other monks recommended this non-proliferation. Another example is in the Baddhaka Sutta, where Venerable Sariputta explained how can have a good death. So if one wants to have a favorable, a good death, So there he mentioned six factors or six type of behaviors so that you are developing yourself towards, till you die. So it is not the last moment that you can correct everything. Rather, till the death, you have to behave in a certain way, in a proper way. So the first one is talking about the na kamma ramata. That means, so you are not overly busy. You may be engaged with various activities, but you are not become a work addict. Some people are work addict. So they every time they want some work. They can't even stay for a holiday. Even while holiday, they want to do something. You shouldn't be a work addict. Rather, you have to have some kind of a relaxed mind and just to look after yourself, to spend some time for spiritual growth. So that is one aspect Venerable Sariputta is explaining. The second one is not delighted in talk. So some people are very talkative, then they keep on talking, and then there is no time for the mind to rest. Mind always become agitated. The next one is the sleep. So one is not delighted in sleep. So certain people are like that who are delighted in sleep. But one shouldn't do like that. And then the delighted in company, always to be with the friends and the family members and whoever the other people, that always you are accompanying people, always partying. That's also not a good behavior. So then you don't have enough time to look after yourself. And doesn't have sort of very close, intimate relationships. And such intimate relationships can become a sort of disturbance during the death, particularly. Now you can see that the focus of this sutta, the Baddhaka Sutta, is you are preparing ourselves for death. If we want to have a peaceful death. And then the last one is the one actually most important here, not delight in proliferation. So delighted in proliferation is one of the key feature of the typical worldly beings. Papanchabi rata paja. Papanchabi rata paja. So this paja, this folk, this people are delighted in proliferation. So they want to think. They always delighted in thinking. Many different ways they want to think, and they become happy by thinking. They are dreaming, they fantasize, they imagine, and they enjoy by doing that. By fantasizing, it may be sensual fantasies, maybe sexual fantasies, they are delighting. By imagining many different ways, so they are delighting. And thinking in many different ways, they enjoy. So this is a kind of an addiction that we all have. And so again and again, so this delighted in thinking, conceptual proliferation, is some sort of an addiction that people are having, a tendency that people are having. So Venerable Sariputta say, which is quite harmful for having a good death. So if you want to have a very peaceful death, better avoid conceptual proliferation beforehand. So you can't predict what the mind going to think during the death. So if the mind get on to that usual cycle, usual habit during the death moment and keep going on in many different directions, unpredictable directions, we never know what's going to happen during the death moment. So before the death, therefore we better consider this situation and try to minimize conceptual proliferation. So therefore Venerable Sariputta mentioned the one who is delighted in proliferation is like a beast, is like a creature. He's really an ignorant person. Papanchabi rato magu. Viradayiso Nibbanam Yogakkemam Anuttaram. And he mentioned, so he become deviated from the Nibbana. He become failed to attain Nibbana. He don't know how to calm down the mind. He keep on burning the mind. He keep on burn through various kind of thinking. Worrying happens, rumination happen, various expectations are there. As a result of that, too much thinking happen, anxiety happens, various depressive moods happen. All these things are there because conceptual proliferation is one cause of various mental diseases. On the other hand, when one is able to abandon proliferation, yochapapanchang hitwana, nippapancha paderato, and he delights in non-proliferation. He aims at non-proliferation. He delights in non-proliferation. He enjoys the inner silence. He likes to maintain inner silence. So that's his tendency. If one has such kind of a tendency, he attains Nibbana, the unsurpassed security from bondage. Aradayeso Nibbanam Yogakkemam Anuttaram. So Venerable Sariputta says, so he very much invites the Nibbanic condition in the mind, Nibbanic nature in the mind. So rather than burning the mind, he is keep on quietening the mind, keep on calming down the mind, relaxing the mind. So this is something that we need to look into, because so these are well said by Venerable Sariputta, the Buddha himself, and we as their followers, we as the practitioners, again and again we need to see whether our mind is burning. Are we in a sort of an agitation? Because you can see in the Yavakalapi Sutta, so this proliferation, this tendency to proliferation is a way of thinking. And Buddha takes it to the level, I am is a proliferation. I am this is a proliferation. I become some sort of one with, say, this kind of appearance is a kind of a proliferation. I want to change the appearance is a proliferation. So likewise, he has taken it to a very subtle thinking even, because that subtle thinking itself is some sort of beginning of this proliferation process. So as we are calming down, or as we are relaxing, as we are weakening this proliferation tendency, so the mind has to slowly let go of many different unnecessary type of thinking. Might not be immediately, but say you are a person that thinks too much, you overthink and keep on thinking for days. Now you need to reduce it to, say, several hours maybe. So as you further develop in the practice, so those several hours also have to be reduced to 1 hour, 2 hours. As you further develop, it may be several minutes. Okay, say for half an hour you are thinking, but somehow you are able to calm down within half an hour. Likewise. And say as you further practice, whenever necessary, if you want to calm down the mind, you should be able to calm down the mind within several minutes. So likewise, if we can measure our own progress in the Dhamma, own progress in our practice, then we can see, so the practice is working for us. Because sometimes people are more into thinking, and this thinking has become one of the big main issue for various mental diseases. But if you are able to minimize it, then you may experience fairly calm, fairly relaxed, fairly restful experience. Because wandering mind is a unsatisfied mind, a suffering mind. Instead, the very cultured, fairly quiet, inner silence, some sort of a stillness is really a healing type of a mind. So this Andrade Silva again and again disturbing. So therefore we need to understand these situations, and accordingly we need to see that where our practice is taking us. If our practice is taking us to a calmness, relaxation, quietude, then we may be in the right track. If our vipassana practice is taking us to calmness, relaxation, quietude, then vipassana practice is also taking us to the correct direction. I think that is enough for today, and we can get into the next one maybe next week. And with that, I like to conclude today's Sutta teaching session. Now I like to open the session for questions. So this
Thank you,
Anuradha
Bhante.
Silva tried to ask something. I don't know why.
Yes, you can unmute Andra. So, and then if you have a question.
Sorry about that. I think I have accidentally pressed it. I thought I just undid it, but sorry about that, Bante. I think I've accidentally pressed it. Yes, sorry about that.
Okay.
All right. If anybody have any questions, this is your time to raise your hand and share those questions as well. So I see Zio, you can unmute and ask your question, please. Thank you.
Hello, Bante. Hello,
Yeah.
everyone. So what you said, Bante, about the desired outcome of practice being the quiet mind without thoughts. I have a question about that because as I have practiced meditation, what has been happening sometimes recently in my practice is I lose consciousness, and I wonder if that's a good thing because I feel so. What happens is it's not falling asleep. I'm sitting like this, and then I completely lose consciousness of anything, and then I sort of sometimes come back to be aware that I'm meditating, but I was still very sitting straight like this, so it's not like I fell asleep.
Right.
So, and I feel like that, like I'm not really developing wisdom by doing that, but should I encourage that happening? Not that it's not happening, like I can't make it happen willingly, but anyway, what should I do in regards to that?
Yeah, so this is a possibility. So can you explain what you are doing at that time? So are you practicing any sort of vipassana technique? So are you investigating certain bodily phenomena, or are you investigating various thoughts happening in your mind? So what's the type of practice you are doing?
No, Bante, it's more samatha.
Samatha, I see. So are you into any vipassana technique, like say, are you into any walking meditation at least?
I have been doing walking on retreats, but usually at home I only do sitting, Bante.
I see. So that's the thing, because sometimes when we are not balancing the faculties, now there are 5 spiritual faculties Buddha mentioned: Saddha, Viriya, Sati, Samadhi, Panya. So these 5 faculties we need to carefully balance. Otherwise, what happens is when the Samadhi faculty become more prominent and dominant, so it can take us to a fairly unconscious type of states. So we need to carefully balance the Samadhi side. Better, I encourage you to practice some walking if possible, and recognize various sensations and their behavior, how they are happening, how they are coming, how they are changing, how they are disappearing. And if you are practicing sitting, probably are you using Anapanasati for the samatha practice?
I have a little bit, Bante, but I was taught White Kasina, so I was doing that mostly.
Okay, so if you are practicing white kasina, so before taking that object, are you able to recognize any kind of bodily sensations?
Yes, Bante.
Okay, so if you are able to recognize various bodily sensations, probably you can pay attention to those sensations and start recognizing them and see their behavior, how they are appearing and how they are changing and how they are disappearing. So now, because through the practice of white kasina, you may be already having certain kind of a clarity of the mind. So mind may be already concentrated. So the necessary amount of concentration for vipassana practice may be already available with you. Now say, as you are sitting, if necessary, you can spend few minutes with white kasina. I am not encouraging to spend longer time, but once the body sensations become apparent, become available, now withdraw your attention from white kasina and put it to the sensation, and keep on observing, investigating various sensations. Then you are developing certain wisdom. So, because taking entirely on samatha practice, practicing only samatha, I don't like to encourage, because there can be an imbalance in the mind. Because we need certain kind of a influence or understanding coming from the wisdom practice, vipassana practice. Then samatha and vipassana both together can give you a fairly balanced mind. Because if you are only going through samatha practice, it can lead to certain difficult situations, like, say, for example, if some tragic incident happen, the mind can become very sensitive and you are unable to cope with it, and you might even get into too much thinking, and all those kind of things can possible. But the more you are into vipassana, and again, if the certain amount of samatha practice also there, then the kind of a combination is available, and you can deal with the life situations fairly proper, a balanced way. So therefore, I like to encourage you to get your step into the vipassana also, and then you can have a balanced approach. Because currently, that you get into unconscious kind of a state, merely coming through samatha is not something encouraged.
That's what I thought. Thank you, Bante, for the solution. I will apply. Thank you.
Right. Okay. Then on Saranai. Okay. Any others who are having any questions?
No, Bante, I can't see any hands have been raised, but I have a couple of questions. Maybe I will ask that. Towards the end, you were talking about the 6 factors, such as like bhikkhu does not delight in work, does not take delight in work, and goes on. I remember there was a time that I was crazily engaged in work, of course, but being a lay person, walking through the process of getting into this work arena and then getting through the ranks and etc. So I thought that was the goal, but here it talks about exactly the opposite. But then again, when I really think about this as well, time to time, we as individuals try to sort of forget about some part of work now, of our age and etc. But now again, we are trying to focus on how to develop our minds and etc. So isn't that also pertaining to the work itself?
So the meditation becomes another work.
I'm just asking the question, so I'm not.
Yeah. So interesting thing is that meditation, yes, it appears like another task, another obligation, another, say, your responsibility, but it will take you to non-work, non-doing. So at first it appears like sort of a doing, but later
Sure.
it will take you to non-doing. So vipassana, for example, so you may start with doing. So you need to develop mindfulness, you need to develop certain concentration, all are doing.
Exactly.
And even protecting sila, that also has certain amount of doing. And then even vipassana, say you are paying attention to sensations, you are paying attention to thoughts, feelings, also appear like doing. But later, slowly, they naturally appear and you are simply observing them without any judgment, without any bias, without any interference. So now slowly you are stepping to the non-doing area. So things are happening naturally and you merely become witnessing them. You are not doing anything, but you simply witness them. So likewise, the meditation actually take you to more non-doing rather than intentional doing. So on the other hand, the thing is that at first we can't immediately do that. At first we need certain kind of a participation, certain kind of a restraint is necessary. But later, gradually you can get into the non-doing type of meditation. On the other hand, the Sutta actually talks particularly on the mundane sense at the very first, that stop too much into the work. So, na kamma ramata. Because certainly sometimes people are there who are addicted to doing, addicted
Right.
to work.
Sure.
They now say, for example, even the office gives them certain breaks, certain kind of a holiday. They don't want to stay at home. They don't want to stay without doing anything. They don't want to relax. They still find some other work and they want to get engaged with something else. So likewise, there's certain constant engagement is necessary for certain people. Constant engagement. They
Mhm.
constantly want certain responsibility. They want to put them into something. So
Mhm.
that's a kind of an addiction. That the mind always in a fairly agitated, fairly, burdened state. Whenever it becomes relaxed, you fall asleep.
Sure. Always craving
Yeah.
for that type of state. Yeah, I
Yes.
understand.
Yes.
So thank you. I
Yeah.
really appreciate your answer as well. I see 3 hands, so we'll give it to Drake, I guess, to ask the question. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Bante. I was curious about, could you offer some advice about if you're like, when I follow the breath and my mind becomes more still and concentrated, I feel pain in my body, like tension. And I think maybe it's vipaka coming from like unskillful action, or maybe there's like too much effort and too much ego. I'm not sure what it is, but have you ever heard of anything like that? And do you have any advice on how to make it more pleasant?
Yeah. So, I mean, are you practicing mindfulness on breathing? Is it your primary practice?
Yeah.
Okay. So one thing is that as we are paying attention to breathing, so if there are certain pains available in the body, it can become apparent to us. So it is very much like these pains are always available, but when we are mindful, those pains become apparent to us because our distractions become less. So our attention is drawn to the body. Now the certain even subtle feelings, very say small feelings in the body also become kind of intense. So the concentrated mind is one something like which can experience certain little pains as kind of intense pain. Now, is this a kind of a discomfort to you at the moment, or are you able to observe those feelings?
It's a discomfort. I can sometimes just, think, okay, unpleasant feeling. But usually it kind of leads to either ill will or
I see. Right.
restlessness or something.
I understand. Yeah. So that's the issue because the typical tendency is now, say for example, when there are pleasant feelings, when there are pleasurable feelings, we like them. We attracted to them. When there are painful feelings, I hate them. So this is the natural tendency in all our minds. So when there are pleasant feelings, I like it. I want to have them. And when there are unpleasant, painful feelings, I don't want them. I hate them. But the important aspect of the practice is keep them as merely feelings and just to observe them, okay, in a non-judgmental way. Now, say for example, breathing, for example. So you don't have any preference for in-breath over the out-breath, right? So you in-breath also just the in-breath, out-breath also just the out-breath. You have no preference for breathing. Okay, breathing happens naturally, and you are in a very equanimous way able to experience in breath and out breath, in breath and out breath. Take pleasant feelings as in breath, unpleasant feelings as out breath. Can we apply the same kind of a mentality to the pleasant feelings and the unpleasant feelings? So likewise, if you are carefully training the mind, okay, pleasant feeling, okay, it's like in breath. I'm just experiencing it. Okay, there's an unpleasant feeling. Okay, it is like the out breath. I'm just merely experiencing it. So slowly, kind of accepting this painful feeling and understanding, learning how to be with it, how to carefully experiencing it without complaining, without trying to get rid of it. Okay, how can I just be with it for a moment? Just being patient with it for a moment. Likewise, slowly, if you are able to learning from the feeling become a very good area for you to practice. Because
Okay.
because feeling, Vedananupasana is a little bit of a tricky area, but a very good resourceful area for you to develop Vipassana. On the other hand, I encourage you to do some walking meditation as well, because during the walking, have you ever practiced walking meditation?
Yeah, I have.
Okay. So try to develop walking meditation also. There also you are learning various sensations are happening and you are paying your attention to those sensations and try to recognize them. And similar way, many sensations are there. Say hardness is there, softness, roughness, smoothness, vibrations, coolness, warm. So all these different things are there, but you are non-judgmentally observing them, carefully observing them. So there also you are developing this skill, how to observe various sensations without adding my preference, without saying, okay, this is good, this is bad. Can I simply learn from them? Can I simply start recognizing their behavior? And then the same approach you can put it to the sitting practice also. Whenever even painful feeling happen, you can carefully pay attention to that and patiently observe that.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah,
Okay.
that's great.
Just try. It needs a little bit of patience, but I feel that you are capable of doing that.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for that questions. And next, there's a Zoom user. Can
Yeah,
you?
please tell your name and ask the question.
Yes, thank you.
Zoom user has gone.
Yep. All right. Next, chance goes to Gita.
Bante, I missed the reference for, is it Badekar Sutta? With,
No. Yavakalapi Sutta. Yavakalapi Sutta.
Please say that again.
Yavakalapi Sutta. Sheaf of barley.
Uh-huh.
The translation is kind of sheaf of barley Sutta.
Okay. So the one that you mentioned with Venerable Sariputta going through those proliferations.
That is the one. That is called Baddhaka. Yeah, that is Baddhaka Sutta.
Baddhaka. Okay. And which
Baddhaka.
Nikaya?
That is in Anguttara Nikaya. Anguttara Nikaya, Chakka Nipata. The six-factored suttas.
Okay. 6. Okay. Thank you, Bante. I missed that.
Okay. Right.
So the next question goes to Ranga. You can unmute.
Thank you. Hi, Bante.
Hi, Ranga. How are you?
I'm doing well, Bante. How are you?
Good.
Great.
So you put a kind of image of the Adam's Peak, right?
That's right.
Okay. Now this is the season of the Adam's Peak veneration.
Oh, wow. I actually have never been myself, so one day I hope to come.
Okay.
Okay, Bante. I wanted to ask you a question about, maybe two questions about the Asaji Sutta. Venerable Asaji, are you familiar?
Asaji Sutta.
It's a Samyutta Nikaya, which one is it?
Samyutta Nikaya Kanda Samyutta, right?
Theravada.
Theravada. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
So
Theravada is can you, okay, I got the sutta, but I need to quickly read it.
yes, I can kind of sum up. So from my
Yeah.
understanding, right, Venerable Asaji is sick, and so he asks the Buddha to come visit him, and the Buddha has a discussion with him,
Right.
and essentially Venerable Asaji is feeling anxious,
Mm-hmm.
and the Buddha asks, "Is that, he knows that he's sick, but he asks, is your virtue blameworthy in some way?" And Venerable Asaji says no. So the Buddha's asking, then why do you feel anxious? And so
Right.
Venerable Asaji says something to the effect of, before he fell ill, he was able to achieve a state of jhana or concentration in which his
Right.
bodily formations or fabrications calmed down, but now he's not able to experience that anymore.
Right.
And so the Buddha says, and so also Venerable Asaji says he's afraid of decline. And so
Right.
the Buddha says, for the translation I have, it says, the Buddha says, for those in which the essence of the practice is concentration, I don't know if it's samadhi or jhana, but for those in
Mm-hmm.
which the essence of the holy life is that, this is what happens. And then he
Mm-hmm.
kind of walks Venerable Asaji through the three characteristics.
Correct.
So
Yes.
my first question is about this. Like I used to get this feeling more, and I think jhana samadhi was more of a focus of my practice at that time. But that feeling of like being desperate, like
Mm-hmm.
when I'm practicing well, then things are okay. But when I'm not practicing well, then I start to, that feeling of desperation. So I just
Mm-hmm.
wanted to start with like a kind of a general question of, here, this is a monk, Venerable Asaji, who has attended monks beneath him, so he must be, a pretty senior monk. And so I'm just wondering, when does that, along the path, that desperation, that fear of decline, when does that go away?
No, thing is, now he is more into the samatha practice, so he is enjoying certain samadhi concentration, and now he lost it because of unable to attend to it often. He lost it. Now this is one property of the samatha practice. So the keep if you are practicing it daily, most often, then you are able to maintain it. But if you are unable to attend to it, say you got sick and for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you are unable to get into this samadhi, then slowly that samadhi get erased in the mind. Then you can't become blissful from that samadhi anymore, because you are again and again attending to that samadhi because it has provided you certain kind of a satisfaction, certain kind of a blissful experience. So that is why you are very much like fond of it, very much like really liking to it. But as a result of this sickness, he lost it totally. Now he is complaining to the Buddha, Bante, before I was sick, I was attaining to this particular samadhi, but I totally lost it. But now Buddha says, if for a person, if for a kind of a, say, dispensation where the samadhi is the essence, for them, yes, it is a kind of a calamity. But for my dispensation, this is not the situation. Samana Brahmana Samadhi Saraka, Samadhi Samanya, Tesam Tang Samadhi Appati Labati, Evang Hoti, Na Chassu Mayang Parihayamati. So Buddha mentioned, for a person or for a kind of a dispensation where samadhi is the essence, concentration is the essence, then you might feel okay. When samadhi is not available, it's a kind of a loss. But for us, Asaji, it is not really the case. Then he is putting the Buddha is putting him to the vipassana track. Okay, he's asking various questions. Okay, what do you think? Is the form permanent or impermanent? Is the feelings permanent or impermanent? Perceptions permanent or impermanent? So likewise, he's keep on paying attention to the vipassana aspect of the five aggregates, and slowly, He's paying attention to various Sukha Vedana, Dukkha Vedana, all that, and slowly bringing his attention to this non-attachment. And then the mind becomes fairly relaxed, calm, and ultimately it's taking to the Nibbana. So basically, Vipassana practice is what Buddha here emphasized, not the Samatha practice. So as I already mentioned, whenever you are purely doing the Samatha practice, it can become a harm. It can become a addiction because you really love it. You really like it. But the moment that you lose it, you start panicking. You start complaining because I lost it. It is possible because you know that we might not be able to continuously do the practice because of certain situations. But if you are able to combine this with Vipassana, so Vipassana is something that you have to bring to the daily activities, daily life. It is not that you are doing even the Vipassana practice only at the cushion, but even at the office, even while you are driving, even while you are working. So you have to try to bring the Vipassana practice to daily life. Then you are constantly practicing. The whole life become a practice session.
Nice, Bhante. That's beautiful. Thank you. Yes, I've in my own practice, I can see a difference. Whereas I feel I used to be this way, where when jhana was coming easily, weeks when I had a lot of jhana, I felt fine. And then when I didn't have it as strong, I felt somewhat down. It used to be like that. And then I found just focusing more on mindfulness and I would say Vipassana, I can feel that change in me. So I wanted to ask, is the Buddha implying here that Vipassana is the essence of his teaching?
We can say like this, Ranga. So certain suttas are there. Among the 5 faculties, he given prominence to the Panya. The Panya Vimuttisara. So Vimuttisara, the freedom is as the essence. Freedom as the essence. So freedom doesn't come without the wisdom. So we can say the wisdom is one proximate cause to achieve the freedom. So Vimuttisara Sabbe Dhamma. So that is one statement. And there are instances that he among 5 faculties, he has given prominence to the wisdom, the Panya. Panyindriya. Panyindriya, the faculty of wisdom has given the prominence. So likewise, there are certain situations where instances that he has given the prominence to wisdom over concentration.
Thank you. That's very clear.
Yeah.
Later in the same sutta, Assaji Sutta, the translation I have is the Buddha saying, if one feels a pleasant feeling or painful feeling or neutral feeling, feel it disjoined from it. The Pali
Exactly.
word is visamyotu.
Yeah, visanyutto.
Can you explain what that means, disjoined?
Okay. Now, say for example, as I just discussed with Mr. Drake, whenever we are experiencing certain pleasant feeling, a pleasurable feeling, our natural behavior is to adhere to it. We get involved with it. So I am happy. I am blissed out. I am quite elated. So I am there. I am a person. As a person, you get involved with that feeling and experiencing it. So that is where whenever we are going through some pleasant experience, you immediately identify with it. You immediately get caught by that. You adhere to it. You get involved with it. But this visanyutto means that you are maintaining kind of a distance. Now, say for example, when you are experiencing the breathing, so breathing is a equanimous process. So you don't have any kind of an attachment towards the in-breath. You don't have any attachment to the out-breath. Because it's a very equanimous feeling and quite naturally you are able to maintain kind of a distance. You are carefully observing it without adhering to it, without trying to control it, maintaining a very good balance. you are able to experience this present, whatever this in-breath and the out-breath. Can you apply the same mechanism to observe the pleasant feelings? That's it. Whenever pleasant feeling happen, you don't want to identify with it saying, I am happy. Rather, you are observing it as mere happiness, mere pleasant feeling. You are able to distance from it. Then you are not get involved with it. You are not trying to control it, or you don't want to own it. Rather, you merely observe it. That is the term visanyutto, where there is no any desire to maintain it. There is no any desire to own it, no desire to prolong it. Rather, you simply observe it. It has a nature to come. It has a nature to change. It has a nature to go. You mind your own business. You simply maintain that balance. You don't want to intervene. You simply witness it.
Thank you, Bhante. That's very helpful. The last point I'll make here is I've noticed how in the last, I don't know, maybe month or a few months, sometimes just randomly a feeling of elation will come, or sometimes a feeling of dread or fear, like a really gross, kind of disgusting fear type thing will come. And I've been practicing, I think similar to what you're saying, just being mindful of it. Just, it's okay, just being mindful. And what I've found is that whatever that feeling is, it goes away so quickly when I'm just mindful. You know, so it seems like when you practice with this disjointed, kind of detached demeanor, as you mentioned, the phenomena, it's kind of starved. It doesn't take hold of you. It doesn't last as long. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. Yes. Because sometimes we are feeding these feelings. We are adding our own judgments. We are adding our own, likes and dislikes into the picture. So that makes the situation more complicated. But the more you step out and simply watch it, then they naturally behave. They have certain energy and it manifests and then it disappears on their own accord.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, the next question can go to Andre. You can unmute, please.
Thank you. Bhante, I just want to ask about the question about the sutta. You said something about the proliferation. Just want to know, before you go to proliferation, you can stop at like 1 or 2 stages, right? That's what you mentioned. The first 2 stages, like before you go to.
Yeah, we can. So, first stage, very much like we are unable to stop like. So the first, like in the Madhupindika Sutta, as we just discussed, the first stage is very much like a quick, spontaneous process. It happens whenever I align with the sight. So the knowing part immediately happen. It happens again and again in a very rapid succession. So we can't stop that, but we can stop identifying with it. We can stop adding to it. We can stop preparing a self out of it. We can stop thinking about it, labeling it. All that we probably can stop with the practice.
Okay, so by the practice, shouldn't it be like something like where you need to like achieve like a samadhi state through vipassana, like a permanent samadhi, like ekagrata, I guess that's the word, like through a vipassana to go to that stage, like to stop proliferation? Or is it just by doing, like by thinking itself, you stop it? Like how does that automatically happen?
No, basically, get into a samadhi and stopping the whole interaction is one strategy. We are very much like we are very much like you are preparing a boundary, a fence out of a wall around the mind, and then others can't penetrate inside because there's a wall. But
Yeah.
through Vipassana, it is a little different. Like, even when you can see, if the mind is not interested in getting involved, even when you hear, if
Yeah.
the mind doesn't want to get involved, so that is the kind of a Vipassana approach what Buddha explained to Venerable Bahia. Ditte ditta mattam bhavisati, sute sutta
Yeah.
mattam bhavisati, mutte mutta mattam bhavisati, viññāte viññāta mattam bhavisati. It is not that you are kind of covering up yourself. It is not that you are
Yeah.
building a wall around you. Rather, you still
Okay.
can see, you can hear, smell, taste, touch, cognize, but the mind remains in stillness without getting involved.
Okay. So what I want to find out is like, is that what I mean? We achieve that through Vipassana. Isn't it like once we do Vipassana and we come to a certain state, only we are able to do that? Is that correct?
Uh,
Or like
right.
even a beginner can do that? That's what I'm just trying to understand. Like, or like you have to
we
go.
can't beginner. Yeah, we can't say it for a beginner. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And also, but if I practice, I just want like observing some like vibrations currently, like every meditation I do, I see vibrations. And then I go through like a sort of a light, like I see a white light, I can say white light. I just enter this white light thing. Just want to know like whether it's part of like samadhi, again a samatha or something, or like is it a part of the vipassana I'm doing?
Yeah.
One.
So actually, when you are practicing even say elements meditation, say you are observing sensations, and a white light can happen in the mind because mind become more purified. So this white light is a sign of purification in a way. The mind become fairly free from any defilement, free from any hindrances. Then naturally a white light can happen, but it is not common to everyone. I mean, for certain people it can happen, for certain others it might not happen. But when it happens, just ignore it because it is not because using which you can stop vipassana and you can get into jhana if you want. But here, if we are encouraging vipassana, you can simply neglect that white light and you can continue the observation.
Okay. And also the vibration, is it part of like not the liberation, not the enlightenment, but I'm just talking about it's just like where your I myself is like going away, losing your I myself. Is that part of like science showing that it's going in that direction, or vibration is another, like just another scenario that happens when you meditate?
Yeah, just another scenario. Just another scenario. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
That
Thank you, Bhante.
vibration is a manifestation of the air element.
Air element. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Understood. Yeah. Thank you, Bhante. That's all.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you very much for that question. And the next question can go to the Zoom user. Would you be kind to share your name first?
Avasarai Bhante, my name is Manjari. Can I be heard?
Yes.
Bhante, you mentioned that by observing sensations, one could develop wisdom. Bhante, how does that happen, Bhante? And how could it direct us to realize anicca, dukkha and anatma, which is our goal, Bhante?
Now, sensation is we can say a sankhata dhamma, say a conditioned phenomena. So it can happen due to various causes. So one understanding of vipassana is to know the characteristics of these conditioned phenomena. So sensation is one example for that. So as you pay attention to sensation without interrupting it, without interfering it, so sensation will show their natural behavior. They manifest as they want and they show their true nature. So we simply observe it. Through observation, we understand their true nature. Now we have heard about anicca, dukkha, anatta. We have heard about impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and non-self, but we haven't experiencing it, or we haven't really directly experiencing it till we practice vipassana in a way. So this is a good opportunity for us to directly experiencing it. So we have an example, a certain say phenomena is now happening, manifesting, and we simply observe it non-judgmentally. We don't want to put our own judgments, our prejudices into the picture. I don't want to forcefully make it impermanent. Rather, we simply investigate. Are you really impermanent? Okay, if you are really impermanent, okay, let's show me. Now it is showing its true nature. If it is really impermanent, it will appear. Previously it was not there, now it appears. And now it changes, but I am not the one changing it. It is due to own accord, it is changing, and then it disappears. Now this whole behavior is an example of the impermanence, and this whole behavior is beyond our control. That is an example of non-self. And if we are expecting some sort of satisfaction from this kind of a change in behavior, then we are going to unhappy. And we are going to experience some kind of an unsatisfactoriness because we can't maintain it. We can't expect that forever. So the whole episode is explanation of impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and non-self in a more direct experiential way. Manjari, are you there?
Avasarai Bante, I understood what you said. Thank you very much, Bante. Theruvan Saranai.
Yeah, Theruvan Saranai.
Very good. The next question, Nissarana, you can ask the question.
Bante, can you hear me?
Yes.
Bante, I actually gave this comment to you a bit while back on through it. I was saying at that time, I'll repeat this to say like the summary of it. I was saying I was getting some sort of a clarity, which I said like my own definition, not Dhamma definition, was like I see like a 20/20 vision sometimes, something opening up, but it was very briefly and very like about maybe less than a second or a second. Sometimes that happens, and that happens sometimes in my meditation in Sakman, or like a walking or sitting down, or sometimes when I'm not doing anything, suddenly it comes, right? So at that time you said just observe it, and you said something like something around those times or something. But what I did was for the last 2 weeks, I didn't pay too much attention to it. And I wanted to ask because of the answers you gave for some of the yogis here. So I didn't want to pay attention to it, but what happened was in few times it became a bit more and more, Bante, like the time that happens. For example, earlier it was less than a second. Now it happens for about 5 seconds. It sort of keep it. I feel it like a bit longer, right? But over the days, what I realized is I started liking it. So I then realized that's not the best thing because you yearn for it. So I realized it's sort of myself. But it wasn't that I was trying to do that, but it happened. Like, I don't know. It's like something that you yearn for it because you feel so in a very, I don't know, something happens when that clarity comes. So then I started yearning for it. And what I noticed the change was when you yearn for it, it became less, right? So it's like, so then what I realized was, because I was following you for a while now, so I didn't give this comment, but because I thought I'll observe this myself first. So I started, okay, now, and read a bit about it. I said, okay, knowing, like, that happens. It's just another phenomena, like, that clarity happens and the clarity goes. Or then I feel very, sometimes when that goes, you feel down, right? So that I started just observing, knowing that happens. Is that like the right path to do that, Bante? So when I did that, actually, again came a bit more. Like, so I just wanted to understand, is that the right approach I took myself?
Yeah, basically, so if you have too much interest, if you expect it, if you want to hold it, so this may not happen in a natural way. Rather, you are interacting it, you are adding your preferences. But if you allow it to naturally happen, naturally unfold, it will naturally stay for a longer time, because this seems to be a sign of, in one sense, it's a kind of a concentration, and again the purity of the mind. So the more you want it, that means there are certain desires in the mind, which is a hindrance for the purity of the mind.
Okay. The only thing, Bhante,
idea is don't corrupt the mind with the desires. Just allow it to happen. If it happens, okay. If it doesn't happen, that's still okay. Something like that.
Yeah. It's the thing is, it's how I think we are. I don't know, from built like something like that happens. You get a bit attached to it sometimes. That's what happens. I didn't try to do it. I didn't try to do it, but one thing, that's what happens.
Yeah, because these things are sometimes interesting and it is very beautiful and attractive, and then you start liking it. But the once you start liking it, it will disappear because it's counteractive to it, because it's a desire now in the mind.
Okay, yeah. So I think I sort of I guess I observed myself and did the right thing. That's what I want to find out, Bhante. Thank you very much, Bhante.
Okay. Yeah, Thero.
Okay. There's one more. Bhante, Yasala can ask a question.
Yeah.
Thank you, Geshan. Thank you, Bhante, for today's Dhamma talk. Actually, it's quite, I would say, it's very timely for me. The reason is I'm going through a little bit of, I would say, some personal issues, and because of that, little bit of a downtime, I think, or low energy time. And so, and Bhante, again, I see it may not be to the prapancha level, or maybe sometimes it is a bit of prapancha, but mainly I see because these thoughts, I have the preference whether I like it or I don't like. That is kind of causing me these thoughts. So I can see that, it's because of my preference. Let's have no preference, and this way. And Bhante, so I kind of see them as thoughts coming and going. Try not to get involved, and especially with my walking, walking and sitting meditation really helps, as you mentioned, to clear some of those during that time. So Bhante, I would say I have a good grasp on that in the sense, but however, Bhante, I still feel very low or very low energy. How would that relate to this?
No, I think now in one sense the physical conditions also may causing it, because assume that you are going through some sort of a physical illness, then definitely you feel physically low. That we can't avoid. Now say various illnesses reduce your energy and reduce your sort of uprightness and all that. So as a result of that, you feel more down, more physically low. That is one thing. On the other hand, if you are mentally down, if you feel kind of depressed, that also can cause the physical down, physically, kind of negativity. So that is also another state. So the Buddha's advice is to maintain a mind which is not low, not really down, not depressed, even when the body is down, even when you are going through some physical illness. So that is the challenge actually.
Yes. Right. But it's mainly, I would say, at this time is mentally, the issues that I'm going through impacting me.
Yeah, definitely yes. Because if you are
mentally,
and
but okay.
Your connection is not that well. I can't hear you properly.
Sorry, Bhante, please continue. Yes.
Yeah. So I didn't really get the question. So if you are mentally down,
Bhante, can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you. If the mental condition, if the mentally that you feel down, so it also definitely have an impact towards the bodily behavior or bodily bodily sort of vigor, that you might lose
Yes.
the bodily vigor and you feel down. Definitely, yes.
Yeah, Bante,
basically.
Yes, I think probably that's probably what it is, Bante. Yeah, and but I kind of happy with the way I face about it, but nevertheless, yeah, I feel a little down. Yes. Thank you, Bante. Thank you for the advice. Much merit.
Yes, it's up. Yeah.
Bante, I see Ranga has raised hand. Do you want to ask that
This
question,
is
Ranga?
Question and answer.
Yes. Bante, I wanted to ask, so in my practice sort of with this emptiness thing, right? I found I can go into mere seeing rather quickly without trying too much now. So, and I experienced it like a gap, almost like a very slight gap in any sort of like thinking or anything, right? And then the mind wants to sort of like bookmark it, like, oh, I did that. Kind of to like the mind wants to acknowledge, because when I'm in the gap, there's nothing there. There's no, there's nothing really happening. So I feel that the mind kind of wants to, out of this sort of earnest Buddhist desire, wants to say, I did that, or yes, I got that check mark. Does that make sense?
Yes,
so I just wanted to say that that's what's happening. I know we've talked about it for a bit, but I don't know if you have any advice.
No, that is the achievement. Like, I mean, we are like kids, no? So when you are being rewarded, when you achieved it, yes, I did it. Then you get the motivation. Yes, this time I did it. But there again, you get caught to this eye making. Can't help. These are little mistakes, Ranga. Slowly, you can stop that. That victorious feeling. You can stop. Then slowly admit it. Okay, there is something going on. Okay, this time it worked. Smoothly handling it without making it a big thing. Not so far, it's a big thing to the mind. Achieving emptiness is a big thing to the mind, but once you get used to it, so it becomes a natural thing. This is a very common scenario in all kind of an achievement. It may be in the vipassana, it may be in the samatha. So at first, even an achievement, even this kind of a situation can become another reason for us to be happy, reason for us to be proud or something. But later, that also can be slowly abandoned by understanding, okay, there is no person to be happy, there is no person to be proud. But anyway, happiness is something positive. So I don't want to discourage the happiness, because happy mind is always a positive mind, a fruitful, workable mind. So therefore, just keep the energy. You don't need to lose the energy.
Thank you, Bante.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Ranga, for your question. And next question goes to Moira. You can unmute.
Ante, I was just wondering whether the Sri Lankan floods have affected you or your Pansala.
We were surrounded for 3 days through the floods, but there were some close by villages and they provided us dana. And after 3 days, everything was smooth and the flood went away and we were back to the routine. Only 3 days we were, yeah. Because we are in a mountain, so it didn't come to our area, but we were surrounded by the floods.
And the dana is still happening? The villages are okay?
Yeah, yes. Now everything is okay. During those 3 days, only few villagers in our side and they looked after us.
That's good.
Yeah.
And
They were quite, yes.
So can we send merit to Sri Lanka?
Sure.
and recovery. Yeah, that's what I'm feeling right now.
Good.
Hope everyone's okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thero Saranai.
Yeah, Thero Saranai.
Very good. Thank you, Moira. So I think, Bante, that those are the only questions that we have
I
so
think
far.
Darshika unmuted.
Yes.
Yeah, Darshika.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Bante, I can't put my hand up. I don't know why. So that's why I was trying to, yeah. How are you, Bante, after a long time?
Yes.
I want to get some advice from you, Bante. This since recent, my seated meditation, I don't tend to sit for a long time because I feel bored, and then I get up and then do the other work. But I have a incline to do more gardening over the seated meditation, not the walking. I do a lot of walking meditation, and other factors are the other 5 factors you said, not delighting work. Other than that, other factors, sleeping, all those are okay. Slightly they are improving. Even the conceit I still have to a certain extent, and that's also improving. But is this addiction? But when I go to do the gardening, I know I'm going, and I'm working in the garden, and then I forget everything, and then I'm like free in the mind. So I'm wondering whether I can't see why I'm going for gardening, whether it's an addiction due to the drugs or
I don't think so. No, I think it's a positive thing, because as we continue the practice, we become more open with the environment and we start connecting with the environment, and that's a very natural type of an effect. And I feel it's a positive thing. You don't need to worry about it. Just encourage it. Just be with the whatever the activity, this gardening activity. You are with the nature. And the important thing is that your mind, the status of the mind, you are not complaining about thing, right? Rather, your mind is quite empty and relaxed and quiet and calm.
Yeah, calm. I forget everything. Like it's like. So I was wondering whether it's something going wrong, because I like earlier also I like to do the walking, because seated or lying down is very difficult for me. So that's why. So it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. What you're doing is quite good, and it's kind of a positive thing, and it's a kind of a healing for the mind.
Oh, okay. So I could continue.
Correct, definitely, yes.
It doesn't matter if I go for few hours.
I think so. Just check the mind. If the mind is simply relaxed, enjoying it, and there is no any tension in the mind.
No thoughts coming, or even if the pain comes, it will go. I feel quite relaxed. That's why.
Then it's good. No problem.
All right, Bante, sorry I couldn't talk to you. I didn't want to disturb you after you came back. Thank you very much. Thero Saranai.
Okay, Thero Saranai. Okay, I think that's the end, right, Geshan?
Correct. That's all the questions we have. I think we have taken quite a bit of time of yours as well, and thank you so much for your time.
Okay, so we'll wind up the session, and all the merits that we have accumulated, we'll share with all the celestial beings, all the past relatives, and whoever in need of merits. And recently, the floods also claimed several lives, and we share these merits with them as well. And we wish these merits help us also to attain path, fruition, nibbana. We'll recite the traditional verses. Yatavata ca amhehi sambatang punya sampadang Sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya Sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhiya. Sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhiya. Akasatta ca bummata devanaga mahiddika. Punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkantu sasanang. Chirang rakkantu desanang. Chirang rakkantu mamparang. Idang vo ñātīnaṁ hotu sukitā hontu ñātayo. Idang vo ñātīnaṁ hotu sukitā hontu ñātayo. Idang vo ñātīnaṁ hotu sukitā hontu ñātayo. Imina punya kammena māme bāla samāgamo. Satang samāgamo hotu yāva nibbāna pattiya. Idamme punya kammang āsavakkaya vahang hotu. Sabba dukkha pamuncatu.